Rotation is almost upon us and we are going to say goodbye to some standard sets, but I figure us being Commander players, why don't we take a look at some of the cards that might drop in price and we can pick them up for our Commander decks. Let's talk about my favorite Commander cards that are about to rotate and may drop in price, and the video starts right now. Oh my god, I'm out of breath.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.
Hello and welcome to the day. Thank you for spending your time with us. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. I am Joel. I am going to talk to you about Commander cards from the standard sets that are about to rotate, at least the ones that I'll be targeting. But before we get into it, if you would, go down there, hit that like button if you like the video by the end of it. Hit that dislike button if you don't. If you are not familiar, standard is about to rotate. What that means is that Throne of Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death, Ikoria Lair of the Behemoths, and M21 will no longer be standard legal. Typically, that means the prices on some of these cards, some of these singles will drop. It's not always the case, but I did go through the 4 sets that are rotating and picked out some of my favorite mythics and rares that I think you need to be targeting at rotation at a possibly lower price so that you can have them in your Commander deck. And stick around to the end. I've also got some uncommons on this list that the foils of may be excellent for your Commander decks in the coming years. Let's get into these cards. Can we start a list of Commander cards that includes Throne of Eldraine and not have Great Henge on it? What is there to say about this card that hasn't already been said? It is a mana rock that also gains you life, that also grows your creatures, that also draws you cards, and you can make it cheaper to cast. This is one of the cards on the list that I would say try and target it under 30 bucks if you possibly can, or just wait for a reprint. This is one that we're going to need reprinted soon because it's not going to get less powerful over time. Great Henge is fantastic. I needed to include it on this list or you would have yelled at me in the comments. Terror of the Peaks is a 5-mana 5/4 flyer. Spells your opponent's cast that target it cost an additional 3 life to cast. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. You can hit opposing creatures, you can hit their planeswalkers, you can hit players right in the face. This is a big combo-y piece. Get Terror of the Peaks onto the battlefield and start playing some 5 to 10 power creatures, and you're just throwing damage around like crazy. This is currently a $25 card. It has been in standard lists, and so I'm hoping that the price drops a little bit and gives us a great entry for this mythic dragon, because honestly, just as far as 5-mana creatures go, this is always going to be up there as one of my favorites and one of the best. Terror is excellent, and you need to try and pick up a copy if you can. Fiery Emancipation is also all about damage. This is an enchantment that's gotten up to $17. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. It is a little bit color restrictive. It does require 3 red to play, so playing this in a 4 or 5 color deck is going to be a little difficult if you don't have a lot of ways to cheat permanents onto the battlefield. But in monocolor, in 2 color, even in 3 color, I think that this is pretty easily played, and it is, like I said, a huge finisher that can absolutely get you the win. $17 for this enchantment. You know we love enchantments here at Jake and Joel. This is one I would say go pick up for your red decks because you are not going to hate playing it. The Ozolith has been an overperformer for me in lots of decks. Whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, you put those counters onto the Ozolith, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, if the Ozolith has any counters on it, you can move all those counters from the Ozolith onto a creature. Obviously, +1/+1 counters are going to be the main thing that Ozolith is soaking up and then redistributing, but trample counters, death touch counters, lifelink counters, these are all a thing from Ikoria forward. And so I really think that Ozolith has a ton of play. Counters decks, +1/+1 counters decks. This is a huge thing in EDH. Ozolith is 1 mana to play. The Ozolith has always overperformed for me. It's one of those cards that goes into the 99, and I think I'm not going to love it. It's going to be one of those cuts, but I've had so much success with the Ozolith just building up a huge amount of charge, and right before a combat, dumping a trample counter and a ton of +1/+1 counters onto like even a token. That is just nuts. It's getting a ton of damage through. Ozolith for a 1 mana artifact is a $15 card right now. Get it a little bit lower than that, and you've got yourself a mighty fine EDH card. Grim Tutor's a 3-mana sorcery that lets you search your library for a card, put it right into your hand. only at the cost of 3 life. Now, it's not instant speed, so you can't do it at your opponent's end step, but it puts it right into your hand, so it's like Demonic Tutor for 1 extra mana. Grim Tutor's fantastic. Grim Tutor's also an interesting card because this card, before it got this reprint, was ridiculously expensive due to scarcity. Grim Tutor was very difficult to get your hands on, like starter 99 card, and there was no copy of it around at all. 200, 300 bucks to get a copy. Now Grim Tutor's down in the $14 range, 15, between 15 and 20. This is a card that is going to settle out. It's going to go down. This is a card to pick up. It's also got some other variants that you can grab, but just for a base level copy, if you can get it in the low teens, this is an EDH card that you're always going to love having. Go get your combo piece. Go get whatever you want out of your deck. The removal that you need right now, the board wipe that you need right now. Run tutor, run removal, targeted removal. I'm getting on my soapbox now, but Grim Tutor is definitely a card that you want to try and pick up. Hopefully you can find some copies that are just, you know, trying to get out of people's collections as Standard is rotating into our brand new world. Another 1 mana artifact is Shadow Spear. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, has trample and lifelink. You know how much I love trample in EDH. And that ability there, 1 mana, permanents your opponent's control, lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Just for that, like, it's a fine equipment. +1/+1 trample lifelink for 1 mana cast and 2 to equip. That's pretty excellent. Also gets you back into the game if you need a little life, if you've gotten a little low. But that ability, permanents your opponent's control, lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. A lot of people choose their commander because it's got hexproof. A lot of people are running cards in their deck specifically to give their commanders indestructible. Let's turn that off for just 1 mana. This is one that you're going to love having in your EDH collection going forward. So next up are the Triomes. This is a cycle of 5 different cards. They tap for 3 different colors each, and they have the land type in the line there, Swamp Forest Island. You can see it in the middle of Zagoth. Zagoth's the most expensive. Zagoth will run you about 14 bucks. The others are a little less than that. The other thing is that it's got cycling, so if you draw it late, you don't need it. Pay 3, discard it, draw a card. Just replace it, cycle it out. The Triomes are fantastic. They're searchable. That's the huge part. Any card that says, go search your library for a forest, as long as it doesn't say basic forest, you're going to be able to go get Zagoth Triome if you want to. The Triomes are some of the best non-basic lands printed in recent years, especially for Commander. I would say make sure you have at least 1 copy of each in your collection so that you can proxy them for as many Commander decks as you want. If you don't like proxying, pick up multiple now at rotation. A lot of 3-color decks have been in Standard for a while, and there's going to be people that have been sitting on 4 copies of these, 3 copies of these in their Standard decks, and they're going to want to, you know, get rid of some of the extras that they have. I think Triomes are probably the biggest suggestion that I would make at rotation to try and target. These are going to be some of the best cards going forward. They're only going to rise in price from now, and this is just a complete necessity for your 3-color plus Commander decks. Go get the Triomes. That is all I'll say about those. Dryad of the Elysian Grove is next. I put this one in here because it's a $15 card still. A green and 2 for a 2/4 nymph. You can play an additional land on each of your turns, and lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. If you go to edhrec.com, one of the top 5 commanders, maybe one of the top 3 commanders, over the past years, it's just held this spot for years, ever since it was printed, is Golos. Golos is like the premier 5-color commander. You've also got Morophon. That's a 5-color commander for any tribal. You've also got Ur-Dragon. You've also got Slivers. Lots of 5-color decks running around. And I'm just naming the top of the list ones. There's a lot of them. Dryad's also fantastic in a 4-color deck. But this card is going to be a piece. Much like Chromatic Lantern, this card is going to be a piece for multicolor decks for years to come. It's not going to get a reprint anytime soon, maybe a secret layer. So I would say Dryad is a great target just to have for your collection. If you've already got a 4 or 5-color deck, chances are you've got Dryad in there anyway. But if you don't yet, you're probably going to want to build a multicolored commander deck over the next couple years. Pick yourself up a Dryad. It's going to go into that deck immediately. 15 bucks for this card. You're going to love it. Especially for those decks, you're going to love having it. Now, this card is probably going to get me the most hate in the comments. Joel, are you serious? You like Steelbane Hydra? Yeah, I do. It's a really fun card. Turtle Hydra. Green X. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. So we're already like in league with +1/+1 counter decks. Doubling Season and Steelbane Hydra are big time friends. And then Steelbane Hydra's got this ability, pay a green to remove a +1/+1 counter from it and destroy an artifact or enchantment. Repeatable artifact and enchantment destruction. Artifact and enchantments are some of the hardest permanents to remove for a lot of the color wheel. So let's have this cannon. It's just like boo, 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 boo. Every time we pay 3 mana, goodbye an artifact, goodbye enchantment. This is a fantastic card. I've destroyed so many artifacts and enchantments with it. It's pulled me out of so many tight spots. This is a card from Eldraine. It's $8 right now. Pick this one up. Nobody was running this in standard, but as people try and get rid of cards in their collection that are maybe rotating and they're like, oh, I'll never play this, maybe you'll find a copy for less than that. Around $5, this would be a great pickup. Steelbane Hydra. Let me know down in the comments if you think I'm ridiculous for putting that into this list. Elder Gargaroth is a lot of text for just 5 mana. Vigilance, Reach, Trample. Whenever it attacks or blocks, you choose one. Create a 3/3, gain life, or draw a card. And it's a 6/6. I love this creature. It's just kind of a big dumb creature. It's got a ton of text though. I really love it for that. It's not hard to play a 5 mana creature on turn 3, on turn 4. This is the kind of creature that if it gets out early, it can really put you ahead. Life total, creatures on the board, drawing cards. Any way you want to get ahead, Elder Gargaroth is going to help you do it. This is a mythic beast. This one is right now $15. Obviously, if it doesn't get reprinted, it's going to slowly creep up. If it does get reprinted, it's going to drop down into the like $5 to $8 range most likely. I would say pick up Elder Gargaroth for your green decks if you need some big dumb creatures, or if you think that you'll need some big dumb creatures. Elder Gargaroth is one of the best. It does a lot of stuff. So many keywords. That's the new design philosophy. Put a ton of words on the cards and put draw a card on there somewhere. Those are my favorite rares and mythics to be targeting right now at rotation. I want to talk about some uncommons that may be fantastic foils going forward. And I want to start with Bastion of Remembrance. Bastion of Remembrance fits into an aristocrat strategy perfectly. It's almost required. It's a fantastic card. It brings a 1/1 in with it, and it gives you that Blood Artist ability. Each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. This is what you want to stack in the Aristocrats deck. Bastion of Remembrance in foil, I think, is going to be a fantastic, fantastic inclusion in your EDH decks going forward. I also think that it's going to rise in price. People are always going to want this for their Aristocrats deck. Always. It's always going to go in. I don't think that there's any room for this to be a cut if you're building an Aristocrat strategy. Foil copies of Bastion of Remembrance, I'll definitely be targeting at least one. I'd recommend you do the same. I also think the same of Destiny Spinner, a green and 1 for a human 2/3 enchantment creature. So it counts as an enchantment for things that care to count enchantments. Creature and enchantment spells you control just can't be countered once Destiny Spinner's on the battlefield. That in and of itself, for 2 mana, boom. Enchantress decks, they're everywhere. It's a huge archetype. Destiny Spinner's an auto-include in an Enchantress decks. Creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. It's huge. It's great. For only 2 mana, and it's a 2/3 to boot, and it can also turn lands into creatures with haste if you need to, and it counts the number of enchantments you control, also counts itself. Plus, I think that the foil would look awesome. Look at that art. You tell me that art's not going to look dope in foil? Destiny Spinner, definitely pick up a foil of it. It is fantastic. Sir Conrad, this is the same thing as an Aristocrat strategy. This is a card that I think is an arguable cut if you've got a lot of strong Aristocrats cards in your deck already. But Sir Conrad is one of the best. I still think it's fantastic. 5 mana for a 5/4 whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield. Deals the damage to each opponent, straight up. Also comes with an ability to pay a black, pay one other. Each player mills a card. Got some recursion strategy built in, probably? Yeah, you probably do. Sir Conrad is going to be great for that. See if you can pick yourself up a copy of Sir Conrad in foil. All that glitters. I mean, like, is this the best aura that was ever printed? Probably not, but it's really freaking strong, and there's a lot of shiny gold in that art. You know the foil of this looks dope. All that glitters has finished games for me. SRAM, Senior Edificer, EDH deck, absolutely a bomb. This is what I put on it last. This is what you suit up that avatar, that Voltron, ready to go fight for you. Put this on there last, right when it's like completely indestructible, completely hexproof, completely unblockable, protection from everything. Oh yeah, let's like triple its power and toughness out of nowhere and swing. Do I win? Yeah, probably so. All that glitters, pick this up in foil. Right now, the prices for those cards, Bastion of Remembrance is a $2 card, Destiny Spinner's a $3 card, Sir Conrad's $1, and All That Glitters is $2. So they're cheap to pick up copies of, but you can already tell that as uncommons, they're growing. They're growing in price because people want these for EDH. That's my list. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. And if I left any cards off, I know a lot of people have been making videos about cards to pick up out rotation. These are just the ones that get me excited, get me ready to go to TCG Player and eBay and compare prices and buy a bunch of singles with the money that I don't have.